President Kiir calls for concerted efforts towards economic reforms and service delivery in the country. Abyei communities agree to live in peace after years of internal disputes. Commissioners Forum opens in Juba to enhance development in Central Equatoria State. Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to SSBC with me, Mathiang Joseph. In a major development, President Salva Kiir Mayardit has instructed Vice Presidents Dr. Benjamin Bolmel and Josephine Joseph Lagu to actively focus on developing robust economic and service delivery policies to drive the country's economic and service transformation. As both vice presidents have assumed their respective roles, the head of the state also instructed prioritizing agriculture to fostering the nation's quest for food security and poverty reduction. SSBC's Alejandro Lotok reports.
In a pivotal moment for the country's governance, President Salva Kiir Mayardit has sworn in 2 new vice presidents on Wednesday. Dr. Benjamin Bolmel has been appointed as the Vice President for Economic Cluster, while Josephine Lagu takes up the role of Vice President for Southeast Cluster. The President charged Bol with spearheading substantial reforms in the economic sector and tasked Lagu with strengthening the delivery of essential social services, an initiative intended to alleviate the suffering experienced by the people.
To Dr. Benjamin Bol, I want you to reform the economic sector by diversifying the economy and create an enabling environment for investors. Prioritize the agriculture to ensure South Sudan is food secure and ensure civil servants are paid on time. You have the challenges in the government that await you in your respective dockets. Our people are facing difficult economic challenges, and I would like you to prioritize this in your programs as you assume your responsibilities. For Madam Josephine Lagu, I am aware of the challenges relating to the group you represent, but the implementation of the agreement and unity of our people is a priority.
The new vice president in charge of economic cluster expressed readiness to steer the country out of the current economic meltdown in order to enhance effective transformation of the country.
I will do everything that I can to promote Your Excellency's vision for our people. I pledge to do the job you have given me without fear of it, that I will do it for the benefit of the people of South Sudan and SPLM, and that I will do as I have always done, put our country first.
Meanwhile, Vice President Josephine Lagu, who now chairs the service cluster, called for joint efforts from the citizens in a bid to enable the government achieve its dreams of transforming the nation.
This country must get to work, and I mean real work, so that we can afford to provide the quality services we need in education and in the health for our people, the services we all desire for us, our children, and our children's children.
At the event, several cabinet ministers praised the president for these changes, particularly as the country gears up for general elections at the end of the transitional period.
Your Excellency, this is the right time that you have made these changes as we are preparing for the election. I hope that we are going to work together and make sure that services are delivered to the people of South Sudan.
And we are proud as women of South Sudan to have two vice presidents in the government of South Sudan. Yeah, to my brother, Vice President Dr. Benjamin, I know that you are now the chair of the economic cluster, and you know the economic situation of our country. You know how our people have been talking, specifically about you, especially related to the economy of South Sudan. Now that you are there as the chair of the economic cluster, I think you need to do more so that we will restore our country back, so that our people will enjoy.
So on behalf of young people, I'd like to pass our congratulations to you and to assure you that young people are happy for this decision that you made. To the two vice presidents, service cluster and economic clusters are two very important clusters for service delivery. Open up opportunities for young people so that they may find opportunities to work, but also to serve their country.
Officials say this reshuffle signals a renewed commitment to advancing economic reforms and enhancing service delivery across South Sudan. Alejandro Lotok, SSBC News.
The National Minister of Gender, Child and Social Welfare has called for concerted efforts in achieving gender equality in the country as a core component to violence-free society. SSBC's Edith Stephen reports.
The National Minister of Gender, Child and Social Welfare, Abyei, encourages men to recognize women's contributions in communities, accept women and girls as equal partners, and grant them equal access to public decision-making processes.
As we prepare to vote for our new leaders, let us choose those who embody our values, share our vision, and are committed to amplify the voices of women across all the segments of society. Our leaders must be individuals who will not only stand for us, but also represent the diverse perspectives and experiences of women from every corner of our beautiful nation, South Sudan.
The first secretary in the Norwegian embassy in South Sudan, Ambassador Torbjørn Stefanik, says the government of Norway stands to support South Sudan gender-integrated programming to safeguard integrating gender considerations throughout all humanitarian and development programs and projects.
As well as the lack of commitment to enforcing gender-sensitive laws and upholding international agreements. I hope this platform will facilitate effective strategies to address these pressing concerns. The government of Norway remains dedicated to supporting peacebuilding efforts in South Sudan, emphasizing the crucial role of women in the process. We value our partnership with NTLI and with UN Women, key players in advancing the women, peace and security agenda in South Sudan.
The country representative of the UN Women, Dr. Ruqayya Mohammed, appeals to South Sudanese to accept and uphold the importance of gender equality for all to reap equal dividends in their lesser rights, opportunities and resources without prejudice to gender and age.
This year is really critical for gender equality landscape. You know, this year is the 30th anniversary of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. So we have to reflect on the ongoing work to advance gender equality. We are also celebrating the 25th anniversary of UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security. So we must unify our effort to achieve gender equality without postponing it for another 137 years. Because our fight, and there are a lot of pushback to our gender equality efforts. So when there is so much pushback, we do what? We push forward. So we have to push forward against the pushback. This is very, very critical for us to attain where we want to be in this country.
For South Sudan to wage success fire on poverty and other national disparities, it is imperative to grant women and girls access to social protection, decent work, and other relevant support systems. Eddie Stephen, SSBC News.
The government and partners have collaborated to unveil career advancement program for youth and women through mentorship and guidance. Speaking at the event's opening, Vice President for Gender and Youth, Cluster Rebecca Nyandeng Dimabure, stresses the significance of the program in empowering the young generation. SSBC's Tong Achwil reports.
The Vice President and Chair of Gender and Youth Cluster, Rebecca Nyandeng Dimabure, launched Women and Youth Leadership Project in Juba. This initiative, supported by the United Nations Development Programme and other diplomatic mission in South Sudan, seeks to contribute knowledge and practical experience in management skills and career counseling among young graduates across the country. In her opening address, Vice President Nyandeng reiterated her commitment to collaborating with partners to keep training young women and men in the country for the future leadership.
This initiative is more than just a program. It is a commitment to our future, and that future rests in the hands of our young people. I know that many of you here today are eager, ambitious, and ready to work. Yet, opportunities can seem few and far between. I also know the frustration of wanting to contribute, but feeling like doors will not open. That is why we are here today, to change that, to give our young women and men not just hope, but a real chance to grow, to gain experience, and to lead.
The National Minister of Culture and Heritage, Nadia Arab-Dudi, hails partners and the youth for taking the initiative so vital for the national welfare.
I want to advise you that young people, take it strongly. No one will give it to you tomorrow. You are lucky today you have it, but tomorrow you will not get it. It needs you to carry on so that you will teach the coming generation after you.
Dr. Muhammad Abshir, UNDP country resident representative, says this initiative is to empower the youth in the country, particularly in building their leadership skills. Hence, the UNDP is committed to delivering tangible resources to the people of South Sudan.
This government program demonstrates the unwavering dedication to empowering women and the youth in South Sudan. It marks a significant step in our collective efforts to invest in this great nation's future through leadership, inclusivity.
The much needed and essential role of young women and men in promoting and fostering peace and stability is uncontested. The fact is that in South Sudan, we do not yet see the young women and men being asked to participate in consultations and meetings that aim to resolve conflicts and bring peace. And this is a missed opportunity, as the youth of today are to be the peacekeepers of tomorrow.
A youth participant, Athieng Susan Yol, registered delight in taking the initiative as an opportunity for discussing challenge to the youth and mapping out the way forward for the country.
This program will help the young people to reach their full potentials. As we can see in this country, there is a big number of youth that are unemployed. And through this program, the youth can find a direction. They can have a purpose. They can have people that they can look up to.
The launch of the Women and Youth Leadership Projects marks significant development in creating an opportunity for training and shaping the youth for better future leadership in the country. I'm Tong Achwil, SSBC, Juba.
Crossing to Lakes State, Abyei County, where the communities have dropped their protracted internal disputes and agreed to live together for the development to prevail in the area. This follows a huge gathering including Katokam youth and traditional leaders accepted to end the conflict and compensate the victims of the conflict. SSBC's James Arusi reports.
In Dorpayam of Abyei County, Lake State, a peace deal was cemented between various communities of Abyei County. The gathering of elders that was attended by the intellectuals of Abyei County and Lake State government officials focused on ending the conflict that had for long persisted and caused division among the sections of Abyei community. Animal sacrifices with pledges to end hostility and testimonies with vows taken under the witness of the national and the state government officials in their midst.
All the chiefs and youth, they are releasing their burning issues. That's why you see people give them a chance to release. So after all, when we finish today, they will come together, and you even see some bulls have been killed before, is to show that there will be a unity from today.
Governor Rinchweng, who was in attendance, urged the community members to choose their path wisely for the benefit of the community and the citizens living within. Today, what has brought us to Dor, in this home called the Aliab? It has been having conflict, and the conflict has been ongoing for the past 10 years. The homes were not safe again for people. People have been killing themselves, and many have died here. In the past 3 years of my work, cases have been solved. Blood compensation has been paid. The security is now calm, so that you stay as brothers and sisters, even if you are Kwei, Rorapuk, Galo, and Aker. All those tribes of Aliab have to be in peace. The Commissioner of Abyei County, Philip Maud Garang, believes the gathering will mark the end of grievance between the communities in Abyei County. He added that the decision to end conflict was community-centered and will yield fruits.
And all the community cattle leaders, they are promising government, they will not even repeat against. They will stay together and they will move together, because fighting is always there in the community. But they are settled it, they are given a consideration both sides, and they are agreed to stay together. So I think this one will be a concurrent one with the permanent.
Meanwhile, the county's SPLM secretary says they were working to ensure that there is permanent peace in the state. He said the effort by the state government has seen many communities now living in peace since Governor Ring came into office.
All the process regarding the blood compensation were done, and other minor injuries also were compensated. Today, which is the 10th of Feb 2025, we are making the conciliatory peace process for the two communities in Dorpayam, which the county authority was given a go-ahead in attendance of His Excellency.
In a diplomatic engagement, Presidential Advisor on National Security Affairs, Thoy Chan Red, and Israeli Ambassador Gershon Kadar convened to strengthen security cooperation between the two nations. Both leaders reaffirmed their country's commitment to fostering diplomatic relations. Ambassador Kadar reiterated Israel's dedication to implementing its sponsored projects in South Sudan. In response, Red assured Kadar of South Sudan's commitment to addressing security concerns in the country.
We discussed strategic issues in the area,
both in the area of South Sudan and also in the Middle East. And we have a lot of issues that we have in common, and we had a very in-depth discussion. And I think we had a lot of areas that we can continue cooperating on. And I hopefully that we'll be back soon in Israel. I hope that our Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs will come soon, and we'll be able to continue this discussion and dialogue at the higher political level together with the National Security Advisor and with other ministers of your government.
In related development, Israel expresses willingness to assisting South Sudan in improving its telecommunication capabilities. On Wednesday, Minister of Information Michael McWilworth and the Israeli Ambassador Gershon convened to reviewing the Israeli-backed telecommunications and e-services project in the country. Their discussions also focuses on government's unwavering commitment to collaborations with Israel to strengthen the nation's telecommunication infrastructure.
We also discussed fiber technology and the issue of security in the cyber area. And because on the one hand, when you get more digital, you become more efficient, but then you're also open to issues of cyber attacks. And Israel is one of the countries in the top countries in the world regarding cyber protection. So as you go ahead in digitalizing your communications, your e-government will be happy to go hand in hand to help you share the knowledge with our experts with you regarding cybersecurity. And I hope through these three areas we will be able to cooperate in helping South Sudan go towards a modern.
The United Nations and the Secretary General for Peace and Operations, Jean-Pierre, is expected to visit Abyei to assessing the general situation on the ground. UNESCO Head of Mission and Force Commander Major General Robert Yao Afram made the statement after meeting with the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mande Simaya Kumba, over the general situation in Abyei. The meeting focused on shared goals to ensure peace and stability in Abyei, administrative area. Speaking after the meeting in Juba on Wednesday, Simaya urges United Nations Interim Security Force for Abyei, UNESFA, to continue supporting efforts towards achieving lasting peace in Abyei, reaffirming government's commitment to working closely with the peacekeeping force. UNESFA Force Commander Major General Robert says the meeting covered both security and humanitarian issues affecting the region.
We had a very good and fruitful meeting. We discussed security issues. We discussed humanitarian issues and efforts to resolve them. I'm happy of the outcome of the meeting. From here, we'll proceed to UNMISS and discuss further support that we can get from the resident coordinator to support the people of Abyei.
At the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, a sponsored two-day program, leaders representing different political parties are engaging in understanding their role in the electoral process ahead of the country's post-independence elections at the conclusion of the transitional period. SSBC's Isaac Nudoro reports.
The two-day political parties forum that brings together leaders representing different political parties in the country is intended to create trust building and strengthen consensus among the parties. In his opening remarks, the Executive Secretary of the Political Parties Council, Dr. Peter James Wani, assured the Council's commitment to cooperate with the Ministry of Interior to ensure free space is provided for political parties to conduct their activities across the country.
As a political parties council, we will strive to collaborate with the Ministry of Interior and the security agents and other stakeholders to ensure that the political parties and the affordable necessary protection and assistance for the state security agents for the purpose of facilitating peaceful and orderly meetings and fair opportunities to present their programs for as a political parties to the public.
David Kwaje, the IGAD head of mission in South Sudan, calls on the African Union to provide support for the completion of the other pending tasks in the revitalized peace agreement.
The African Union must accelerate the establishment of the necessary support which is needed to ensure that the transitional justice mechanisms receive sufficient support.
AU Senior Political Affairs Officer Proper Ado says there is need to develop permanent constitution to guide the upcoming elections.
Some difficult decisions, no doubt, would have to be made for holding the elections.
Frank and forward-looking discussions. Don't focus on what divides you, but on what unites you. The shared goals of a stable and prosperous South Sudan. Finally, I urge all political actors to remain committed to dialogue, compromise, and peaceful engagement. UNMISS stands with you in this journey.
The forum is being organized under the theme, The Political Transition of South Sudan, reflecting on the past, shaping the future. Isaac Ludori Emmanuel, SSBC News, Juba.
The Inspector General of Police, General Abraham Anyuat Peter, urges the law enforcement agencies to foster crime prevention efforts towards safeguarding citizens and their property.
تحافظ على أرواح بتاع الناس مش أرواح بتاع زول معين ما أرواح بتاع قبيلة ما حياة بتاع الجنوبين بس حياة بتاع كل الناس أي بني آدم أنت مكلف على حياة بتاعه في حدود وفي دائرة الاختصاص القانون الداخله انت مطالب برضو عشان تحافظ على النظام العام وانتوا عارفين النظام العام شنو اي زول بخالف القانون معناه ده ضد النظام العام.
Health Forum for Commissioners and Mayors commences in Juba. Governor Agustino Jadala Wani of Central Equatorial State highlighted the need to developing a robust and strategic development plan in the region. SSBC's Peter Mori reports.
The forum is being held under the theme Strengthening Local Government Structures for Sustainable Peace and Development. In his opening address of the forum, Central Equatorial State Governor Agustino Jadala Wani says strong government local structures are crucial for sustainable peace, stability and development in the state.
Let us use this forum to discuss how we can improve coordination and cooperation among all actors working towards the development of our counties. The future of Central Equatorial State depends on how well we govern at the county level. Strong local government structures are essential for sustainable peace, stability, and development.
The Speaker of the State Legislative Assembly, Peter Wani Elia, says the forum is to identify constraints and achievements of the local government across the counties of the state.
I believe the aim of this important forum is for us to identify the challenges and the achievements under the local government in all our counties, the Juba City Council, and the Payam's administrative areas. What is important is our unity. We need to embrace the spirit of unity among ourselves, as shown by our able governor.
Njoki Kinywanjua, UNMISS head of field office in the state, says the UN mission is committed to supporting Central Equatorial State government in different fields.
It is indeed a testament of the shared dedication in addressing not only the challenges but also the opportunities for Central Equatorial State in terms of peace, development, security, and everything else that makes Central Equatorial State great. I want to assure you that UNMISS continues to be your partner. We stand ready to continue working together with the state government. We also continue to offer our support and work within the framework of our mandate to support the priorities of the state.
The commissioners present their work plans and identify challenges facing them in their respective counties. Peter Mori James, SSBC, Juba.
Ruweng and Unity State authorities have resolved to form a committee to overseeing the peace process between the two communities. Briefing the cabinet and legislators in the capital, Pandayang, Ruweng Chief Administrator Tiop Milwak instructs the committee to disseminate messages of peace and unity among the communities.
The meeting that was held, the Administrative Area Council of Ministers, together with the legislature in the administrative area, combined held a meeting yesterday. And the meeting was about a briefing on the recent visit by the Chief Administrator to Unity State, where the CA, together with the Governor of Unity State, the two mutually agreed to forge forward with the peace process between Ruweng Administrative Area and Unity State. I expect this committee to disseminate peace. I expect this committee to bring the two states together into a table of talk, and I expect this committee to bring a lasting peace between Unity State and Ruweng Administrative Area, because there has already been a gap, because the communities of the two areas, the two states, have not been interacting, have not been talking, have not been, engaging one another in a peace process since 2013.
Japan International Cooperation Agency JICA on Tuesday handed over sports materials and hygiene supplies to 26 primary schools. The items donated by the citizens of Japan include bowls, hand washing, sanitizers, and sanitary pads to promoting hygiene in schools. During the handing over ceremony, Central Equatorial State Education Minister Siriso Zakaria expresses gratitude to the Japanese government for its continued efforts to enhancing education, sports, and health sectors, respectively. JICA Representative Nato Takayama underscores Japan's solidarity with the people of South Sudan.
انت تشكره وخصوصا بتعليم، يعني بناء الاوطان ما بيبنوا الا بالتعليم. انت لو قدرت تبني البلد ده انت ما تشتغل بتعليم. انت لو قدرت ترفع البلد انت ترفع بتعليم. التحيه للتعليم.
That's it from me and the team with me, Matiang Joseph, and thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for more programs coming up.
شفتوا بلدنا بفرح ويرقصوا يا أبي انتوا شفتوا بلدنا بفرح ويرقصوا لمو ايدنا علم يرفعوا بلدنا دي قلبنا لمو ايدنا خلي يرفعوا جنوبنا دي قلبنا لكني سوا مهننا اخوان بين الناس نكون اقوياء لكني سوا مهننا اخوان بين الناس نكون اقوياء مسيحيين ومسلمين وقفتكم في وحده تمام مسيحيين مسلمين وقفتكم في وحده تمام يا ودي دقيقه وصالي نردو يا ودي دقيقة وصالي نردو يا أبي انتوا شفتوا بلدنا بفرح ويرقصوا يا أبي انتوا شفتوا بلدنا بفرح ويرقصوا لمو ايدنا علم يرفعوا بلدنا دي قلبنا لمو ايدنا خلي يرفعوا جنوبنا دي قلبنا شباب تاريخ دبادة من توريد لادي جنغولي كلنا وري ليتو شباب تاريخ دبادة من توريد لادي جنغولي أمولو شغل تمام ليمو جنوبين بيغا واحد كتولا جنغولي أمولو شغل تمام ليمو جنوبين بيغا واحد كتولا شانتو راب دي ما خوفنا بمبولا جوانا قلبنا همومولا أنتو رب ما خوفنا قنبلة جوا نار قلبنا همونغولا لي 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 مبروك لجنوبنا لي 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 مبروك شهداءنا سلام يحيى سلام يا علم وري لينا عيشوا فينا تاريخ جدودنا جيني بسلام يحيى السلام يا علم وري لينا عيشوا فينا تاريخ جدودنا يحيى يا علم الفوقك الوان تانينا وري لينا قولوا لينا كلامنا زين يا علم الفوقك الوان تانينا وري لينا قولوا لينا كلامنا زين نعم خلي كل واحد منا يتأمل في العلم اللي انت شايفه ده تنا ده عشان إننا نوديه ما يقع قدامنا خلي النجمة ده يكون سبب للتنمية وخير تنا كله ربنا يبارك جنوب السودان وكل ناس تتوب
and the economy in general. I am joined by political commentator Abyei. You're welcome.
Welcome, and I would like to take this opportunity to greet all viewers of SSBC.
Thank you. Andrea Mach, as a political commentator, give us a brief background about yourself and tell us something before we start in this topic of discussion today.
I am Andrea Mach Mobior, a journalist by profession. I work in many media houses, contributor to many international media outlets, including Al Jazeera, Radio Algeria International. So I have been in media for almost 20 years.
As a journalist, tell us, how have you seen the political landscape developing since your time and until now? How has it been?
Of course, since South Sudan gained its independence in 2011, everybody in South Sudan was happy that it was a big milestone for people of South Sudan. And we all happy, whether inside South Sudan or outside South Sudan, people were happy. And yes, there are difficulties here and there, but again, we are proud as South Sudanese that we have gained our independence and we become an independent nation in Africa. But we still have challenges. We still have security challenges there, violence between communities. We still have struggling with issue of peace building in South Sudan. We are still struggling with the issue of nation building and state building in South Sudan. We have challenges of economy in South Sudan. So I think if we work hard as people of South Sudan, we can overcome these difficulties in no time.
Yes, indeed. One of the pillars of nation building is definitely peace and a comfortable society in which people can thrive. As you spoke about it, one of the challenges, unfortunately, we have is conflict among ourselves. How do you think the elite or the ruling class can be able to mitigate issues of conflict among us as South Sudanese so that we can view each other as brothers, as indeed we did when we gained our independence?
I think the biggest problem with the issue of peace is how we define peace itself. So many people think that peace is absence of guns, but that is not true. We are also having challenges in how we address the issue of peace in South Sudan. Some people may think that to have genuine peace in South Sudan, you need to go for power sharing. And this is one of the things that people are talking about, power sharing. But power sharing will never bring peace in South Sudan because our issues are bigger than power sharing. We have challenges between our communities. We have seen it in Jonglei, conflict between the Murle and the Dinka Boer, the Murle and the Nuer, and here also in Bahr al-Ghazal and in Equatoria. For you to end all this confusion in South Sudan, you must put law and order. If there is no law and order, if there is no rule of law, supremacy and rule of law, you will never have peace in South Sudan. Sometimes we think that South Sudan is Juba. We put security everywhere in Juba. But what about the state? What about our boomers? What about our Kayabs? So peace is bigger than power sharing. Yeah. We need to build a state where people respect rule of law. if there is no rule of law, everybody will go and grab land, you will go and fight the other community. This is where the problem is. So we need law and order in South Sudan. We also need to build a national army, a conventional, professional army in South Sudan. All our problems are connected in a way or another to the issue of security. We need to build a professional, conventional army that will pay allegiance not to individuals, not to certain tribes, but to the constitution of South Sudan. So whenever there are problems among politicians, the army will remain united. Because politicians, it is their nature. Politicians by nature, they have problems. And they will continue to have problems. Not only in South Sudan, even in America, in Kenya, in Germany, in Britain.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Politicians will continue to have problems. But if you have a professional, conventional army that pay allegiance to the constitution of the republic, you will have no problem. You will have no war. You will not have war.
Yeah, indeed. However, some people might argue that, okay, we say that on paper our rules, or rather our laws and our regulations are very uptight and very world-class, to say the least. And also one of the articles that were in the provisions of the revitalized agreement was also the formation of a joint force of both. And the government might argue that indeed they implemented, I think, 1 or 2 phases. So how can the political class be incentivized to be able to mobilize these units in order for it to be as we expected for it to be in the revitalized agreement?
You see, as I told you, the main problem is within the army. Because our army is big. Everybody is a soldier. Everybody has a gun. But how do you do it? You build a national army. And this is what the agreement has failed to some extent to do. Until now, we are still struggling with the issue of the army. Give you example. You sign an agreement with a new movement, with a new rebel, they will come with 10,000, 30,000 soldiers. For what? For what? So, this is one of the provisions of the agreement. The agreement actually is encouraging building a national army that does not pay allegiance to any tribe or any community or any individual. And I think if we start this, it will be a first step to peace in South Sudan. Secondly, who's supposed to be a soldier? In South Sudan, everybody wants to be a soldier. Whether you are blind, whether you are disabled, everybody wants to be a soldier. But that is also wrong, because for you to be in the army, you must be fit. Physically and mentally. Not physically alone.
Yeah.
Not physically alone. You must be fit physically and mentally to be a soldier. But you can be physically fit, but your mental is not okay, you will start shooting people for nothing.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I hope, if we implement the agreement in good faith, we will be able to tackle this. Yeah.
Now, just to tie up to that, of course, parallel to the agreement, also the Tumaini Peace Initiative was created, and ongoing talks are now there in Nairobi, Kenya. And also we can see that some holdout groups are also being encouraged to come and be part of the peace process, so that indeed, as the government is saying, by 2026 we'll be able to have general elections. So do you see the Tumaini Peace Initiative working hand in hand with the revitalized agreement to bring all these people together? Or as some distractors are saying, this is just to delay, this is like delaying tactics, or what do you think about it?
I myself would like South Sudan to succeed. But I don't think it's a good idea for us to start making too many agreements. Too many agreements. And little of these agreements is being implemented. From 2013, I think the government of South Sudan signed a peace agreement with Copra under David Yaw. In 2015, the government signed peace agreement with SPLM-IO. It was revitalized in Khartoum in 2018 when al-Bashir was still in power. Again, we signed another peace agreement with Abyei under Johnson Ulon. And now we signed another peace agreement with Kidguang Group under Simon Garwidjo. And we are now in Tomaini. All these agreements, but you see little improvement in security, little improvement in governance, little improvement in economy. All these agreements, if it were for me, should have been made into one agreement. Do we really need too many agreements, or do we need people who have political will to end the suffering of people of South Sudan? I think Tumaini and the revitalized agreement and the rest should be made in one agreement. Because the idea at the end of the day is a peace in South Sudan, a society will transform our society to be a democratic society. We end conflicts among our community. We build our army. We improve our economy. And I think all these agreements are talking about this. They should have been made. And that is why we have big government in South Sudan. Five vice presidents. China has more than 1 billion. Their population is more than 1 billion, but they don't have 5 vice presidents. India has more than 1 billion, but they don't have 5 vice presidents. The parliament, I think, is more than 500.
500 plus, yeah.
To do what? And at the end of the day, you have limited resources to run the country. So I think we may need to change the way we look at peace. I don't need to be in the government to serve South Sudan. You don't need to be in the government to serve in South Sudan. If you are farming and bringing your produce to Juba, you are feeding people, then you are part and parcel of peacemaking in South Sudan. So this idea of accommodating everybody in South Sudan in the government, that is in itself is very wrong. This is very wrong. This is not how you build a new nation. We should have a small government of 19 or 21 ministers only, given our economic situation and the nature of our economy. Yeah. So this issue of accommodating everybody in the government is very wrong.
But one might argue that all these agreements, and especially the revitalized agreement, the one that was signed in Khartoum in 2018, it was just for temporary basis to accommodate everybody. And then, as you remember, it was just a 2-year period, and then we were supposed to have general elections. Unfortunately, COVID-19 happened in 2020. It was pushed to 2022. Unfortunately, security implementation was not happening, pushed to 2024. And now also, we are pushed to 2026 because of other issues. How do you think, through this tough economic crisis, just the situation you have made, do you really think the government can be able to downgrade in something that they had signed into before the general elections in 2026?
Let me just first answer your question about the revitalized peace agreement, which was signed in Khartoum. Even if it was for a limited time, you also don't need to make a big government. The idea of accommodating everybody, I'm still saying, is very wrong. Not because if you are not happy with the government, then you are accommodated in the system. That is not how states work. Yeah, but the issue is idea. Yeah. If I rebel because I want a unified army in South Sudan, professional army, it can be implemented even if I am outside the government. I don't need to be in the government. So that thing was wrong. Let us come to the issue of the election that we are talking about in 2026. You see, the people of South Sudan went to the bush in 1983 to fight for democracy, to fight for their freedom. And how do you bring democracy? It is through a peaceful election, free and fair elections in South Sudan. But free and fair elections has its own international standards. There are internationally accepted standards for a free and fair election. You cannot conduct any election and say, well, it is free and fair. This is not how it works. There are free and fair, for election to be free and fair, first of all, you must create a conducive political atmosphere for political parties to rally and to move in different states of the country. That is a must. Number two, you must have security in different states of South Sudan for people to go and vote. If that things are not there, election, free and fair election, even if you conduct election, it will not be free and fair. So I hope the revitalized peace agreement, the revitalized government of South Sudan, will really work hard to implement the remaining provisions of the agreement so that a free and fair, genuine election is conducted in 2026.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will not be free and fair.
All right, yeah. Thank you for that comment. Just a reminder, dear viewer of SSBC, this is a special interview with political commentator Andrea Mabior. Let us go for a short break and then we shall be back. Welcome back to this special interview here on SSBC, and of course I'm joined by political commentator Andrea Mabior. You're welcome back to the studio.
Welcome.
Yes. As you're well aware, we're talking about governance, the economy, and issues that matter the most to us South Sudanese. And of course, with us here in the studio, just a reminder again, of course, is our political analyst. Let us go on with our discussion. You talked about rather, let us move on to something else. On January the 8th, the government, the Artigono government, marked the resumption of oil production through Sudan. And the questions that were held to us was that the economy is suffering because oil production had been seized. and now our currency is dilapidated and things like this. How comes, even though we can see that they're saying oil resumption has been resumed, but we are not feeling the impact rather on the ground in our economy?
First of all, the resumption of oil production will have a very small impact on our economy. And the reason is that it was a very big mistake from the government of South Sudan. Since 2005, after the signing of comprehensive peace agreement in the past, the fact that we are relying on oil to boost our economy is very bad. Why am I saying this? Because the production itself has never reached 500,000
barrels
per day. How do you run economy on 250,000 barrels for a day, or on 100,000 or 180,000? That itself is a mistake. It's a very small. We cannot even call ourselves an oil producing nation, because if you look at the countries that are producing oil, they are talking 1 million and above. Saudi Arabia is producing more than 8 million, Iran is producing 3 million, Emirates is more than 1 million, Nigeria is more than 1 million, Libya is producing more than 1 million, Russia is producing more than 8 million, America is producing. This is how people are talking in millions. Not in 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 barrels per day. It's nothing for the economy. So what we need to do to improve our economy is to diversify our economy. We move away from oil, or we use oil revenues to boost agriculture sector. This is where our wealth is, in agriculture. Or even we can go for mining. So it was wrong for us to rely on oil. Number two, oil pipeline is passing through Sudan. And Sudan is not stable and may not be stable any soon. So we need to really think of how we can diversify our economy. If we don't do this, we will continue to suffer for years to come.
Now, before we get to the issue of diversifying the economy, do you think an increase in oil production, as you had said, like other OPEC countries, can be visible? Because also, if you go to the ground in Unity State, in places like Pangak and Bentiu, there are some issues of oil spills that have been there previously. So there's caution even to increase our oil production in it. So before we go to diversifying, do you think this can be possible before we go to
I don't think it's a right idea to really continue to increase the oil production. As we have said, the pollution of the environment is a big issue because we are not able to manage the oil field. So pollution is a problem. Secondly, are we technically able, or are we actually able to produce 1 million or even 500? Because Sudan itself, when we were still under Sudan, it has never reached 1 million. So I don't think that thing is possible. The only thing is to encourage our people to cultivate, and for the government to really work on improving the agriculture in South Sudan. Yeah. This is the only way out. But continue to rely on this small amount of oil to boost our economy is wrong and will never work.
Okay, just to tie to that, we have seen a lot of changes in the governorship of the Bank of South Sudan, in the Minister of Finance and Planning, and in all these dockets that involve our economy. Apart from diversifying through agriculture, what do you think is another means we can really be able to boost the economy? Because as we stand right now, our currency has now become almost the weakest in the whole of East Africa. How can we go back to having the strongest currency in East Africa?
You cannot have a strongest country if you don't have a good economy. This is just simple. The issue of our currency is related to our economy. And even our nature as people of South Sudan. If we talk about the issue of the dollar, for example, who is buying dollar? But that is a question. Who is buying this dollar every day? First of all, most of our traders are foreigners. So they come, they sell their things in the market, they buy dollar, they send it back to their families in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in Uganda. That is one. Number two, even we, people of South Sudan, almost every family has people who are studying outside or residing in the neighboring countries. Whether it is government officials or whether business people, they have families in Kenya, in Uganda, in Australia, in Europe, in Egypt, in Ethiopia. So we are also buying dollars to sell out. And why? Because there are no good schools, there are no security. Because people don't feel safe. They will send their children out. So unless we work for a genuine peace in South Sudan, you will end the conflict in South Sudan. People will continue to suffer. That is why I was encouraging that all these agreements are good, Tumaini is good, but let it be genuine. Because sometimes we may sign agreements, but we don't have political will to implement these agreements. So the way out is to sign a comprehensive peace agreement in South Sudan, where you bring everybody there, even including those from Sirilo, bring them in, and we go for elections. This is the only way we can rescue this country.
Yes, indeed. There are sectors that are not particularly, or the Artigono or the government in power is not particularly keen on, such as sectors like mining. For example, as a country, there should have been geological tests to know which areas are capable for mining and which areas can be able to produce such rocks, because we are in a region that actually that the sedimentary rock holds a lot of valuable kind of minerals. Do you think tapping into the mineral sector can be a way to also rescue the situation?
As I have said it earlier, mining would also boost our economy. But if we are not careful, it could be like Congo, where companies are coming, gangs are coming, rebel groups are mining, and this is one of the causes of war in Eastern DRC, issue of illegal mining. So mining itself is good, but if it is not controlled by the government, it could be a disaster.
It could be dangerous also.
It could be very dangerous for South Sudan. But I would really focus on agriculture as a base for our economy. Because we can start it even this month or next month. It can be started. And we can actually feed ourselves and feed our neighboring countries. It is possible.
Yeah. Now, people had complained, and this issue came up in the recent governors forum that was held, and one of the visions of Dr. John was cause expanding and bringing the towns, or rather bringing development rather, and people complained that lack of infrastructure was there. Although now the government is trying by building roads across the country in order to be able to ferry goods and such, but they complained also of this thing called illegal checkpoints. With this tough economic situation, do you really think we can be able to eradicate these illegal checkpoints if people are not getting their salaries for up to 1 year?
You see, earlier I said that for us to succeed as a nation, we need to have rule of law, and we need to abide by law. Who is putting these illegal checkpoints on the road? If you go to a country like Canada, which is 20 or 30 times of South Sudan, you can drive for 12 hours or for 24 hours in Canada. You will never find any checkpoint inside Canada. The same thing in the US. You will never find a checkpoint inside the US. Checkpoints are supposed to be between countries, not inside one united country. Secondly, checkpoints are supposed to be in military zones, not in cities. So I think what government needs to do at this time is really to make sure that the resolutions of Governors Forum are implemented in letter and spirit.
Yeah.
Those who are not implementing these resolutions are against the law. And they must face full force of law. And they should be brought to a competent court of law to answer for their crimes.
Yes, indeed. Earlier we had talked about, of course, how we have our families outside, how businesses are run by foreigners. In terms of our foreign relations with neighboring states, especially with like Sudan, as we have talked with the issue of oil, how do we ensure the safety of foreign citizens in a peaceful South Sudan, especially looking at the unfortunate incident that happened about 3 weeks ago to Sudanese nationals here in the capital, Juba, and elsewhere in the country?
Well, the issue of safety in South Sudan is not only for foreigners. Even South Sudanese themselves are not safe in some areas. What happened 2 or 3 weeks back was very unfortunate because we, as people of South Sudan, it is not in our culture for you to come and attack someone who came to take refuge in your house. That is against the law, against our culture as people of South Sudan. But it was not for everybody. There were small criminals who took that opportunity to loot shops.
And yeah,
they did destructions of properties. It was really very bad. But again, people were not happy because how could our citizens, our own people, South Sudanese, be slaughtered in Al Jazeera as animals? That was not acceptable. So it was normal for people to be angry and express their anger in front of people or in front of the whole world. It was normal for them to express their anger, but what we are saying was wrong is attacking those Sudanese who came to take refuge in our country. These are our guests. We should not have attacked them. But I think police and the army did a very, very good job.
Yes.
They did a very, very good job. They were professional and they prevented chaos, especially in
Yes, yes. Yeah. Indeed, of course, we thank our gallant forces, indeed, because they were able to prevent the situation from escalating really beyond the situation that it needed to. Now, we're almost coming to the end of the interview. Let us discuss some recent developments that we have had, of course, this week in the government. We know there has been a reshuffle within the government, and I would like maybe for our viewers to know, is this within the articles of the Constitution to be able to reshuffle the government at any time, or where is it given, stipulated among our laws?
Well, of course, reshuffling is not something new in South Sudan. Reshuffling has been happening all this time. I think reshuffling government is something good. It's not bad. The fact that we are maintaining you leads in the government. For example, you are in the government for 2, 3 years, 4 years, and you are not working. You should give chance to others. And when you are removed from the government, does not necessarily mean that you are bad. That is not the meaning. Does not mean if you are removed that you are a bad person or you are not doing your job. So I think the appointment of Dr. Benjamin Bolme as the Vice President of the Republic is good. It's good, and we hope that he will be able to serve and serve people of South Sudan and do his work as an SPLM member, as a citizen of South Sudan. Let us pray that those who are appointed to the government deliver. Because you are not appointed to the government just to stay. You are appointed to do a work to the people of South Sudan. But the most important things at the moment for us as people of South Sudan is to focus on the issue of peace. Without peace in South Sudan, we will never prosper as a nation. We must bring in those who are still outside there. We must end conflict between our communities. We must prepare a good political atmosphere for election. A genuine election where everybody, every South Sudanese who wants to run for a public office would have a chance to do so. So we encourage the Tumaini peace process, the parties to Tumaini peace process, to really work hard and always think about the suffering of people of South Sudan. Those who are in Uganda, the refugees who are in Kakuma, those who are in Gombela, they will not come if there is no peace. So let us focus as people of South Sudan to really see how we end conflict and build a South Sudan that is for all the tribes, the 64 tribes of South Sudan. You know, we are divided along ethnic and tribal lines. And we cannot move unless we end this. And the only way is for us to bring everybody inside, prepare a genuine election, a genuine, free and fair election, where everybody can compete.
And of unity among ourselves, because if you can remember very well, before the signing of the CPA, or when we were still in the bush, back then as a South Sudanese, there was a spirit of unity among all of us. But somewhere along the lines, the spirit of unity seemed to decline from all of us. How can we be able to reverse this course of events?
For us to bring a spirit of unity, every South Sudanese, whether you are a Dinka or a Nuer or a Zandi, you must feel that you are part of South Sudan. You see, even in one house, there are problems. But problems will end if there is a genuine peace. What I mean by genuine peace? For example, you sign a peace agreement, but there are no salaries. There will be no peace. You sign peace agreement, people are still fighting. You sign peace agreement, somebody is happy building his house. Why? A soldier is there for 8 months or 9 months.
Without salary.
This will create a lot of confusion. That's why I'm saying let the government focus on the welfare of our people and bring a genuine peace. A genuine peace will not come unless, earlier I mentioned 3 or 4 things. One, you build a conventional professional army in South Sudan.
Yeah.
Army that will not pay allegiance to tribes or individuals. This is very important. You improve economy, bring transparency to the financial system in South Sudan. And these things are all in the agreement. It's just the lack of political will. Yeah. So if we have political will, I think South Sudan can move ahead.
But how do you think the politicians who are signatory to these agreements and those who are yet to sign to some agreements, how do you think they can be motivated in order to put the political will into the hearts, indeed, and minds of South Sudan?
There is no other motivation. Those who were in the bush, they fought for a free South Sudan, a democratic South Sudan. They came, whether those who were in IU or those who were in South. They came and they are part of the government. But nothing has changed. In fact, things are getting worse. How much was the dollar during wartime in 2014, 2015, 2016? How much was it? It was maybe 18,000. How much is it today? $500,000. So things are not good because we don't have political will to implement the agreement. This is a very good agreement. They revitalized this agreement. Although the whole out group are rejecting this agreement, there is nothing wrong with this agreement. It's a very good agreement. But what we are lacking is political will to implement the agreement from all parties.
Now we are almost coming to the end of this interview. Maybe if there is something we have not touched upon that you would like to say or give your final shout out to the people.
My final remarks to the people of South Sudan is that we need to love each other as people of South Sudan. It is us who will build South Sudan. It is us who will unite our country. This will not happen unless we love each other. This is very important. As citizens of South Sudan, leave alone the politicians, the citizens of South Sudan, you must love each other and live in peace and harmony. Whether you are in Jonglei State or in the Zandi land or in Bahr el Ghazal, we need to live in peace and harmony as one people in the United Republic of South Sudan. If we do that, I think we can build a prosperous South Sudan.
Yes, indeed. Andrea, thank you very much for coming to SSBC. It has been a pleasure hosting you in this program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Yes. As you have heard, peace, love, and unity is the most important and key issue. Indeed, with us South Sudanese that we're able to cure our hearts for us to live together in peace and harmony. Of course, we have talked about coexistence, we have talked about the peace agreement, and also the ongoing Tuma initiative. We have talked about the importance of creating a national army and the importance of rules and regulations to be followed. With that, dear viewer, we have come to the end of this interview, and just a reminder, of course, with me here in the studio was Andrea Matsmabior, who is a political commentator. I have been your host, Emmanuel Amin. Please stay tuned to SSBC as we bring you our ongoing programs and until we meet again. Have a lovely evening.
بسلم عليكم جميعا. كذلك التحية كبير لأمامنا وأخواننا في الإدارة الأهلية السابقين والحاضرين. أنا بسلم عليهم. كذلك شباب فيام أكون أنا بدي تحية خاصة ونقول لهم ألف مبروك. البرنامج برنامج ناجح بنسبة 200%. ونهيئ الجالية السودانية اللي موجودين في فيام شمالي واللي هم اللي أدوا الطعم خاص في هذا الاحتفال، لهم التحية. والما عنده كبير يا جماعة لابد أنه يجتهد يلقى له كبير. في ناس خلف الكواليس وفي هذا المنبر أنا بدي التحية خاصة لعمتنا وأمنا زهر شولة ديل. رغم الأمر ورغم الصحة لكن هو قاعد يشجعنا وبيجتهد معانا وبيسهر الليالي همه لهذا المنطقة. فأنا بديه تحية وتجلي لها. هذا البرنامج برنامج بنقول للشباب انتوا عملتوا حاجة غير مسبوق، يعني بمعنى انه حاجة ما اتعمل قبل كده، وان شاء الله